last episode, we introduced Liquid Fire. It's an add-on that helps us animate our app. So when we're changing routes, this is the animation we did last time. It'll animate in and out, or up and down, based on how the route is changing. But that's not the only thing that Liquid Fire can do. To do that, we use the Liquid Outlet, but there's also Liquid Bind, Liquid If, and Liquid Spacer. We're going to be showing you two of those, Liquid If and Liquid Spacer, today. We'll start with the Liquid If helper. So currently we don't have any if statements within our application, so we'll go ahead and make some. We'll quickly make an if statement, and it's basically checking if it's a high level. If it is, it comments on how high the level is. Otherwise, it admonishes you to work harder. And we'll go ahead and create this property is high level. So if it's a level above 10, all right. So that's if statement is working. Now let's turn it into a liquid if. So this is fairly easy. We just say liquid if. And we're going to go ahead and put a class on it because we'll need that for our transition. We'll also have to make sure to change the closing statement. Now we'll make our transition. So even though it's a different type of transition, we're still going to use this.transition, but we can't use from route and to route anymore. We have to use something else. We're going to use has class. And now we're going to use that class that we had put on before. And we can still use and reverse. So we'll use fade, and we'll go ahead and change the duration. So you can pass in arguments, one of which is duration, and here we're making it last a little bit longer. So let's see this in action. All right, it's fading, and it's fading both ways. Let's see what happens when we reverse it. So to reverse, we'll do a 2 down, just so that it's very clearly different. And we'll go ahead and give it a duration of 1 second as well. So it's fading, and then when it goes back, it is still fading. That's because we need to put in a to value. So the to value is going to give this directionality. Before, anything with has class high level, it would use fade. So there wasn't a reverse. But with the to value, it's only if it has the high level, and the if statement is going to true. So we can see this in action. It's fading when we go to the higher level, and it's sliding down when we go to the lower level. If we have the to value as false, then that's going to reverse. It's going to slide here and fade here. So that's the Liquid If template helper. Let's go over the Liquid Spacer template helper next. So Liquid Spacer is a little bit different in that it changes based on the height and width of the things that are contained with it. So it doesn't run arbitrary animations or use transition rules. So it won't be affected by anything in here, but we can still use this well. So here, notice that we have an image, and sometimes this image will be tall, sometimes it'll be short. So we can put in a liquid spacer around it and watch what happens. So first of all, there's a little bit of an error when you're loading the page with it. So I don't know how to overcome that. But if you get it to load right, it's really cool. So notice how it slid down? Without that, would have just snapped up without that slide. So there's not a whole lot of options that you can use with this, but you can change the grow duration, either as a total time or the number of pixels per second. And you can put it here. So we can make the grow duration equal to, we'll make it really slow. See, that's much slower than it was before. Of course, now that I've brought up the options that are available on Liquid Spacer, you might be wondering, are there options available on Liquid If? And the answer is yes. These are actually options that are available not specifically on Liquid If, but more generally on most of the template helpers. So we saw class before, but you can also directly assign which animation to use. And you can assign the 4 that we saw on Liquid Spacer. Now this direct animation, it skips the transition map. And this is useful if you want to save a little space for a one-off animation, or if you want to overwrite something that's already on the transition map, but just in this one specific instance. We can see that with our if statement. So we have our transition, that fades and does to down for the if statement, depending on which direction it's going. But we can overwrite all of that by just saying use equals to left. And then when we change it, it'll go to the left. Notice it goes to the left for both. So you can't have all the flexibility that you would have with a transition. This is just a quick and dirty action. So today we went over the liquid if and the liquid spacer template helpers. In the next episode, we're going to go over the liquid bind helper. This one's a little bit tricky, but with the right know-how, it can be very cool to use. I'll see you then.